Hello everyone. It's me, Arden Lee. I am back today with another video. And today's video is another one in the series of talks I am doing to address specific questions that were asked by members of my Facebook group, the Repatterning Parlor. And this question in particular comes from a woman who is fed up with straight white men and the way that they have been behaving, especially all over the media, and is fed up with the patriarchy, and yet wants to be able to release some of that anger, at least in the ways that it is bothering her, and wants to be able to find examples of good men in her own life when it seems like men are just behaving like dumpster fires everywhere. And this is, of course, I'm recording this video just a couple of days after the reaction to that Gillette commercial. Did you guys see that that Gillette razor commercial? And that basically said, hey, like, men can be better, like, we can step up, we can, and so many men out there got so mad at it that they're throwing away their Gillette razors that they already bought, you guys. It's ridiculous. So this video comes at a pretty prescient time in our history, and I'm really excited to address it today because this is something that I did for myself just weeks before the 2016 election. That's when I noticed that coming up for me, and I wanted to change that belief for myself. So I'm gonna tell you how I did it. I'm so excited to make this video because I have such direct experience with this very, very issue. So before I get into that, of course, as always, if you have not yet done so, I would love to invite you to subscribe to my channel and or like my page, depending on which platform you're viewing this video on currently. And in addition to that, if you have not yet heard of me or my work, my name is Arden Lee, and I am the creator of the Repatterning Project, which is an 8-week course where we hack our beliefs, we examine our patterns, and we bring conscious awareness to our everyday life choices and habits that we are enrolling ourselves in consciously or unconsciously so that we can make those decisions and create and hack those internal mindsets and frameworks that are going to get us on the path to success, abundance, happiness, and everything that we want to call in for ourselves in our lives. So if that sounds like your jam, go ahead and check out the description box where I have left a link to a free PDF guide about the Repatterning Project so you can learn more about what it is that we do. And I also have a link to the Repatterning Parlor, which is that group that I moderate on Facebook that I mentioned just a minute or two ago. And go ahead and check those out, and I would love to have you join us there. So, all right, without further ado, let's talk about what to do when you really want healthy, conscious, fulfilling relationships with men, especially if you're a woman who wants a relationship with a heterosexual man in particular, or at least a man whose orientation orients him toward women or more. And you don't know what to do because it seems like everywhere around you, you're looking in the media and you're surrounded by examples of men behaving horribly. Some who are just behaving, poorly and substandard, and some who are really behaving like horrific monsters. You guys, just a couple, just maybe less than an hour before I switched on my phone to make this video, I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw a story of a man in Florida who was a zookeeper, a 24-year-old man who died because he was sexually assaulting a 12-foot crocodile, and the camera footage picked up images of him humping the crocodile with his pants down and then being attacked by another crocodile who was protecting the victim/survivor crocodile. And sometimes when you're looking through Facebook and that's what you're seeing, and you're seeing news of Brock Turner, and you're seeing news of the Kavanaugh confirmation, and you're seeing all the men get so upset and so emotional about a razor commercial that asks them to maybe just be slightly better than they're being currently, given the Me Too movement, given all of that. Wow, it can be really hard right now at this current time in our history. Women who want to build healthy relationships with men, especially single women who want to be able to find good men in their lives to partner with, or even to be friends with, or even to be business partners with, to have in your life at all in a way that's not going to be toxic for you, is difficult because right now our confirmation bias is being assaulted by terrible news. Now, granted, it's not just confirmation bias. We're not just seeing everything that we want to see in the world, and it's just because we're angry and we're, finding things to be offended about, because that's not the case. But when all of these stories are coming up for us, and we're inundated by the purge of toxic behavior that so many men are perpetuating, are enabling in themselves and in others, it can be quite difficult to buck against that tide in order to find examples of men who are doing the right thing. Now, the good news is that in the last, especially 6 months to maybe almost a year, but I would say especially the last 6 months, there has been that pendulum swinging back in the other direction. There has been those, episodes that I've seen online of shows like, it's either like Man Talks or Man Up or whatever it is, but it's men sitting around and getting honest with themselves and talking about their feelings and talking about wanting to be better, right? We are seeing more examples of, like, for example, Jason Momoa doing, the traditional haka dance at the Aquaman premiere. This beautiful example of strong masculinity, celebrating and coming together and being embodied enough to dance on the red carpet in this traditional tribal way that really celebrates the culture of the indigenous actor who played Jason Momoa, Aquaman's father, in the film. We are seeing so many examples now of that pendulum swinging backwards because of all the toxicity that is coming up. We need to see more examples of good men in our lives. When I did this, it was just a couple weeks before the 2016 election, and everything on the news was just about sexual assault, and I was triggered AF. And I knew at that point, I was so upset, I was so devastated, I was so depressed. As you guys probably know, if you've been watching my channel for a while already, I am someone who myself has been through more experiences of sexual assault than I can count, experiences of domestic violence, experiences of emotional abuse, and even NLP mind control tactics at the hands of men that I was intimate with in many times, and sometimes at the hands of men who were complete strangers. So so I'm someone who has had a lot of crap to uncover and purge and work through in terms of the way that I relate to men in particular. So I'm going to describe how I did this. So it was a couple weeks before the election, and one of the things that's really so difficult about hacking our confirmation bias is it requires us to deliberately look for the thing that we don't already believe. And sometimes this can just turn our stomachs because we so love our worldview being intact. But if we want to find the things that we want to find and we're not finding them, then we have to change what looks familiar to us. And it was even around that time that there were still some women who, who knows, maybe they were patriarchy princesses, or maybe they just had better relationships with men than I did. But they were out there being like, oh yeah, a lot of men are being attacked now, and yeah, there's a lot of bad guys in the world, but hey, let's hear it for the good ones and whatever. And I looked at them and I was like, yeah, I was so angry. I was like, how can you possibly be standing up for men at this moment in time? But at the same time, I was also like, you know what? Those women know something that I don't know right now. They somehow know where to find the healthy men in their lives and how to have a healthy relationship to men and masculinity. So I went on my Facebook page and I made up a post and I said, okay, if you're a woman out there who has a healthy relationship to men right now, you have healthy men in your life, can you tell me what you did to get there? Give me your hacks, and also, by the way, don't tell me it was your wonderful, amazing partner who did it for you, because I'm hella freaking single right now, which is also making me mad. But I want to get over my bias, my triggers against the toxic masculinity that I'm seeing in men right now, because I want to be able to cultivate healthy relationships with men. It was really funny. There was a man who actually, I said something like that and he liked my comment, and I was like, don't like my comment, you're a man, this is your fault. That's how mad I was at this time. And and with good reason, because he was absolutely trying to frame it as the fact that it was my bias that was the problem and not his white male privilege, which he later got super called out for, and he's no longer a man who is in my life. So because now I have better men in my life. Anyway, that was a tangent. So I said, women If you are out there, if you are a woman who has figured out a way to cultivate healthy relationships to men in this period of our time, tell me what you did. First of all, I want to know. And second of all, if you are a man right now and you are supporting and showing up for the women in your life in a way that is more than just saying, oh, I appreciate her because she does nice things for me, can you please leave a comment and tell me what you're doing? Because I need to rewire my framework to start noticing more and more men showing up for women. And every time a man commented, my confirmation bias would be like, that doesn't count. Like, that's not showing up. That's not real. And I was like, no, Arden, calm down. This is what you're trying to do. This is what you're asking for. And it was just a couple hours later, you know, when I made this post, I was like, I can't think of a single man in my life who is showing up for me right now. Like, not one. I can't even, like, not my dad, certainly, you know, there's no man in my life that I feel like I really trust right now and that I can really show up for, who, you know, in that safe space of trust where they're showing up for me, or they're helping me as a woman, or they're showing me empathy and understanding. And it was a couple hours after I wrote that post that I was like, oh, wait a minute. I just remembered someone really, really super huge. And it was my magic mentor. It was my magic mentor, Grant, who at that time was corresponding with me via email and was really helping me to learn magic, and had volunteered his emotional labor to help me with anything that I was going through, and was holding that space for me. And even though he wasn't, you know, he was over in another country, so he wasn't present physically in my life, but he was showing up for me in the way that he could. And I was like, wow, I can't believe that I didn't even see that. That my confirmation bias was so skewed that I was like, I can't name one guy who was showing up for me. And I was like, wow, like my magic mentor, who's like this super dope, amazing chaos magician who has so many other things to do, this whole, you know, giant writer's career that he's got, and so many other important things, is actually, you know, supporting me over email and helping me with any of my questions or any of my issues that I'm going through. And I couldn't even see it. And it was that first seed. It was just that I got one seed, and from there things started to change. And it took a while. It took a while of time, but from there were a couple of guys who stepped up on Facebook when I would get harassed in my own comments, who would come forward and argue with the guys, you know, in that way, like not argue, you know, not get into, you know, knock down, drag out fights with them in the comments, but would come on and would make my arguments for me. And inevitably these misogynistic trolls who were trolling my Facebook would say, would treat them so much more civilly than they were treating me, because I'm a woman and they're a man. But there were like 3 or 4 guys at that time on my Facebook friends list who were showing up for me, who were doing that labor of being like, hey, I'll handle these dudes because I know they'll listen to me instead of you, and I see what's happening, I see what you're going through, and I want to do my small part to help out. And from there, everything started growing, everything started unfolding. So in order to hack your confirmation bias around issues, you actually have to go out of your way to notice the thing that is contrary to your current beliefs, which is really difficult, as I said, because our egos love to keep our worldview intact. And as I said, the first time that I started, you know, asking for this evidence to be presented in me, everything in my critical factor, that little wall that comes up in your brain that's like, nope, reject, everything in it wanted to come up and say, that doesn't count, that's not, whatever. But I sat with it, and I was like, no, this is a change that I want to make for myself. I'm going to bring mindful, conscious awareness to changing my beliefs. And over time, things have really, really, really improved for me. For one, I measure by, I throw a couple dinner parties, like usually like 2 a year, between 2016 and now it's 2019. I've thrown 2 dinner parties per year, and I've noticed that every several months when I throw my next dinner party, I have more and more amazing, super cool, nice, kind, healthy guys showing up to my parties who are in my life, you know, either as friends or creative partners or both. And now that I'm starting to sort of like dip a toe back into the dating world again, I'm also noticing that the guys that I'm attracting are like, I'm super excited. I've met a couple of guys who are like, wow, like really conscious, really healthy, really trying to be good men. They're, in a weird way, they're like, some of them are almost like trying a little too hard to be good men, but there are like so many worse things to try too hard at. But it's really great because I'm still they're mirroring where I'm at, because I'm in that place where I'm still maybe even trying hard to select for that, trying hard to look for that, to discern for that. So of course, you know, I'm attracting the guys who are trying hard to be that as well. And it's great, you know, so it really is, I've really proven to myself that we really are mirrors of what we look for in the world. And that doesn't mean that I don't still get the occasional troll on my threads, you know, although usually at this point it's on other people's threads, because guys who are trolls just don't have an interest in following me anymore, because I don't care about them anymore. I don't really, you know, I don't think about it. If someone says a mean ass comment on my post, I just, you know, block them, whatever, you know. It's just, it doesn't bother me anymore, you know. It's I don't get as riled up as I used to. Yeah, maybe every once in a while if I get kind of dragged down into it or whatever, but for the most part, I've really healed that relationship. And that was something that in the year of our Lord, between 2016 and 2019, has not been easy for women to do, given everything that's going on. So it's something that I'm really proud of having achieved and accomplished, something I'm really happy to have the opportunity to make a video about. And I'm so excited for this healing that is happening. And it, you know, there's so much, it's like men are in the hot seat right now for good reason, but we as women also owe it to ourselves to speak up about our needs, to hold our standards, you know, to stop enabling men's poor behavior just because, you know, because we like having sex with them, you know, or whatever the case may be, to really hold men accountable, and also to notice and to notice for ourselves, you know, how maybe, you know, sometimes our lack of discernment or our lack of boundaries is being mirrored to us. It's really up to us to speak up about our needs and really hold to those things. That doesn't mean that we're at fault if we're victimized. Obviously, it's the fault of the person who is attacking us or assaulting us. And yet, we must know where to source that support, where to get healing, and we must know how to draw those boundaries clearly in the future for ourselves, so that even if things happen that are against our consent in the future, at least we know where we stand, we know what we are willing to tolerate and not tolerate, and if something happens to us that is not our fault, that we don't tolerate, we know how to get transformative justice, we know how to work toward harm reduction in our communities, and we know how to source our own healing and support from the people that we love and trust, because we need to have people that we love and trust around us, because we need to be able to discern who we love and trust in our lives, women and men and non-binary folks all alike. So it's super important work. I'm glad I got to make this video. I hope that was helpful. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you in the next video.